that. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. My name is Braden. I work for the Fresno Council of Governments as a transportation planner. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join us for this open house. So Fresno COG has partnered together with the Madera County Transportation Commission to improve these two corridors, State Route 41 and Avenue 9, that stretch across both of our counties. And we're so glad to be conducting this study together. Tonight, you're going to be primarily hearing from our talented project consulting team, but please feel free to message me at any time during our open house using the Zoom chat function. And I will leave my email address in there as well. So you can contact me with any further study needs or questions or concerns. So I look forward to hearing everyone's feedback. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Yemi for a quick message in Spanish.
Hola a todos, muy buenas tardes. Si usted quiere participar en español, por favor comuníquese con nosotros para que le podamos ayudar con la interpretación. Además, si tiene preguntas, por favor mándelas en el chat. Right. So we're just going to wait to see if anyone needs help in Spanish, but Braden, I think we can turn it over to you.
Perfect. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bill from IBI Group. He's going to be the one who's leading the open house tonight. So Bill, feel free to take it away.
Great. Thanks, Braden. I'm going to share my screen and bring up the presentation here. We'll go to full screen mode, so hopefully everybody can see it well. Thanks, everyone, for your attendance tonight and taking time out of your evening to meet with us and learn more about the Avenue 40 or the State Route 41 and Avenue 9 Sustainable Corridor Study. We anticipate this evening's workshop is going to last about 1 hour. We have a brief introductory presentation for you this evening, and then we'll have an opportunity for those of you who are in attendance, you'll have an opportunity about partway through the presentation to ask any questions that you may have. We'll take about 5 to 10 minutes for that. And then in the second half of the hour, we're going to have an interactive activity online that you'll be able to participate in and provide your input and feedback on different strategies and project ideas for us to evaluate as part of our technical process. One of the things that I did want to highlight, just some background about the project and about our study process before I launch too far into the presentation, is just to highlight that this is very much a planning study, and it really just represents the first step to potentially identify and plan for future improvements in these two corridors. The sponsoring agencies are Fresno COG and then the Madera County Transportation Commission. And these are both regional planning agencies. They don't necessarily have the power to implement and construct improvements. Instead, they really work with local agencies such as Caltrans, City of Fresno, County of Madera, who actually have the responsibility for implementing and constructing projects. But they really help them with the planning, long-range planning of projects, pursuit of funding for projects that are identified, and working towards the development of plans and sequencing of projects. So what we're doing here is really kind of the first step in the regional planning process and getting things set up for the future for both counties to be able to address transportation challenges and take advantage of potential opportunities for projects in both corridors. So I'm going to advance the slide here and just give a brief overview of our agenda for the evening. First item is the overview of the project. I'll be walking through a brief overview of the study. Also be reviewing what we've heard from the community to date. We had an initial round, what we've titled kind of round 1 of engagement. That was conducted in November and December of last year. I think many of you may have participated in that engagement in one form or another. We had a portion of that online through our online information center, where we had different surveys and map-based exercises that you're able to participate in and be a part of. We also conducted a series of small group meetings online over Zoom, such as this, where we talked to different community stakeholders, businesses, residents, institutional players within the two corridors to talk about transportation needs. So we'll give a little bit of overview for that, a little bit of overview of what we're doing now as part of our second round of community engagement, and talk about the opportunities that you'll have to participate both this evening as well as online in the next couple of weeks as part of that round 2 of engagement. So a little overview of our project objectives. The key objective for our study effort is to identify a range of sustainable transportation strategies to meet both existing and future travel demand in both the State Route 41 and Avenue 9 corridors. And we're looking at a range of potential transportation ideas, which could include traffic improvements, enhancements to transit services, and enhancements to active transportation, so people walking and bicycling around the region. Basically making it easier for people to get around and move around irregardless of their mode of transportation. So as I mentioned in the outset, this project does represent a partnership between Fresno COG and the Madera CTC. Both agencies are jointly overseeing and managing the study and funding the study. And so it's a great example of the partnership between the two counties, recognizing that there is a significant amount of traffic demand and travel between the two counties, and ensuring that things are planned on a regional basis so that it's easy for people to be able to travel between the two counties, recognizing that interrelationship that the counties have, both in terms of residency and in terms of economy as well. So the next slide here is our study area map. It highlights the focus area and the focal points for our study. We are very much focused on the 2 study corridors, State Route 41 and Avenue 9. And both corridors, we have an extension kind of, or a limit on the west or the south end at State Route 99. And then the Avenue 9 corridor extends all the way then to the east to State Route 41. And then the State Route 41 corridor extends from State Route 99 in the south, almost all the way up to State Route 145 in the north. We are, as I mentioned, focused on these 2 corridors, as well as about a 1 mile area on either side, about a 1 mile buffer, the different streets and potential corridors that exist, both parallel and perpendicular to these 2 corridors. And in the case of Avenue 9, we also are kind of extending a bit to the north beyond that 1 mile buffer, looking at issues and opportunities related to some of the other east-west streets, such as Avenue 12 and Avenue 15 in that area as well, recognizing that there are some travel pressures throughout that area, and that it does, given the rural nature of that corridor, extend just beyond that first mile there. A brief overview of our project schedule. We have about a year-long study process. We started in the summer of last year, in July of last year, looking at existing conditions, starting to develop our plan for engaging with the public. And then as we moved into the fall of 2020, began working on and developing goals and objectives for the project, different initial ideas for potential transportation strategies, and also conducted the first round of public engagement. So we're now here in the beginning of 2021, just starting to think about the process for the development of project ideas and recommendations. And so this round of community engagement and tonight's workshop is really well timed, so that you have an opportunity to be in at the beginning of the development of those ideas and different project recommendations. A kind of related and parallel effort as part of our contract is the development of a new and updated travel demand model, which forecasts how many people are going to be in the region, how many trips are going to be taken, and where people want to go. That's being developed under our contract in kind of a parallel effort. And that will be a good technical resource for us as we move into here in the next month or so, the analysis and understanding of what future conditions and future travel demand are in the 2 corridors and our study area overall. And then as we move into the spring and then to the June and July time period, we'll be working on the development of a draft study report, and then ultimately the final study report by the summer. There will be a 3rd round of public engagement that we will be doing probably in the middle of the spring, probably about the May time period. where we will have the draft plan available for public review and public comment as well. So this isn't going to be the only opportunity to kind of review what we're doing and provide input. We'll have that opportunity to review and comment on the draft plan as well. So I'm going to talk briefly just a little bit about the existing conditions in the two primary study corridors. SR 41, as many of you know, is a primary north-south corridor for traffic in both Fresno County as well as in Madera County. And it's an important commuter corridor linking the neighborhoods in North Fresno and Eastern Madera County into downtown Fresno, along with other employment centers within the city of Fresno. And it's also very much an important regional connection to Yosemite National Park further to the north. There's a lot of new development happening along the corridor or near the corridor, especially in Madera County, and that's creating additional travel demand within the corridor that is really a focal point of what we're looking at. How do we meet that travel demand? What are different strategies and different ideas that we can use to be able to meet that travel demand and give people transportation options in the future? Avenue 9 is an east-west corridor. It's primarily a rural corridor bordered by agricultural uses for most of its length, but it is experiencing some pretty significant regional traffic pressures. It's a good connection between the 41 and the 99 corridors, and so it experiences a lot of regional traffic that it really wasn't originally designed for, with the narrow shoulders and the single travel lane in each direction. There's not a lot of capacity to accommodate that regional traffic. And so it's a key focal point of what we're looking at in terms of how should that roadway look in the future and be able to accommodate the travel demand that it's already seeing and might see in the future as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the first round of community engagement, give a little bit of review of what we heard. As I mentioned, we had two key components to that initial part of engagement. The online information center that was available from the beginning of November until about the middle of December, and was populated with different surveys and map-based exercises for people to provide input on their needs related and concerns related to transportation. And then we also did a series of small group meetings in December and January where we met with different members of the community, and we'll talk a little bit about and summarize what we heard in those meetings as well. So this first map here highlights the map-based exercise that we had in the info center and highlights just some of the locations and the issues that were identified by members of the public who participated in that effort. Some of the common comments that we heard included the presence of high traffic volumes and high traffic speeds along Avenue 9, areas of congestion and traffic congestion along the 41 corridor, in particular near the interchange of the 41 and the 180, down in the southern part of the corridor, and then again in the northern portions of the corridor where State Route 41 transitions from a freeway to a more rural highway. And then there were other localized locations of congestion and concern that were identified as well, but those three locations really stood out. We also had an opportunity for people to identify and think about their visions for the two corridors and the different issues and topics and goals that they felt were really important. And so these bar charts highlight in different colors, red being essential, orange being important, blue being good to have, and green being not important. Generally the feelings people had about many of these different topics, which included safety, traffic congestion, connectivity, your ability to get to different destinations, air quality, health and wellness, ability to walk and bike, and overall accessibility. And we can see, many of these topics are very important, either determined to be essential or important by the majority of respondents. And I think that really speaks to an interest in seeing a variety of different solutions and giving people opportunities to move in different ways within the corridors and within the region as a whole. So the small group meetings were a little bit different in that they were more interactive conversational opportunities for people to contribute and share their ideas. And so, as I mentioned, we talked with a lot of different groups that included businesses and developers, environmental groups, agricultural interests, community groups, institutional stakeholders, as well as residents, in particular those living in Eastern Madera County as well. And there were several key issues that were identified. There was a lot of mention and concern over safety and traffic volumes along Avenue 9, an overall sense of increased traffic congestion in both corridors, a need to meet the needs of different travel modes and different users in both corridors, a need to enhance bicycle infrastructure, giving people safe and convenient corridors and ways to be able to travel by bicycle. There was interest in strategies to reduce emissions and improving landscaping and shade, both from an aesthetic standpoint as well as from a travel standpoint, thinking about encouraging people to walk or use transit. You want to create good walking environments where it's not too hot and it's a pleasant walk to be able to move around and get to your destination. So I'm now going to transition a little bit and talk about our goals and objectives, and you'll see kind of a consistency with this with the first round of engagement and the different topic areas that we talked about and looked for input from the community. There's 3 overall guiding principles that we have as part of our study, and this really reflects kind of the overall objective of the study, which is to identify sustainable transportation improvements in the 2 corridors, not just doing the only looking at kind of the business as usual roadway and freeway widening, but really trying to be creative and innovative. So we have a menu of different improvements and different ideas that we can look at. And so there's 3 guiding areas that our goals fit under, and that's sustainability, having transportation improvements that are sustainable, not only in terms of the environment, but also in terms of economics, making sure that the improvements that are identified can be maintained, can be operated by the appropriate agency, and that you have the same quality and level of service day one as you do 10, 20 years down the road. Equity is also very important in what we're looking at, making sure that there's equal opportunity, equal access to different types of improvements, that there isn't a kind of a bias in any of the improvements to a particular neighborhood or a particular community, and that everybody has equal access to different modes of transportation and can do so conveniently and safely. And then resiliency, making sure that the improvements that are implemented are there and can be there in the future, that we really start to contribute to a more resilient region, and a region that is able to adapt and adjust to the effects of climate change, air quality impacts, and some of the other impacts that we're all kind of feeling and experiencing, especially in the last few years throughout California. So under sustainability, we have 3 different goals that we're looking at and looking to implement. The first is congestion, reducing congestion overall and travel delay. And that could be both through traffic management as well as operational improvements. Air quality, looking for ways to reduce air pollution and emissions, helping to improve air quality within the region. And then traffic management, managing transportation demand, reducing the number of miles that people need to drive on a daily basis because they have access to other modes and other opportunities for transportation, and managing things in terms of traffic speeds, especially from a safety standpoint. On the equity side, there's 4 goals: walking and bicycling, improving infrastructure for those modes of transportation, increasing access to transit services and non-automobile-based mobility opportunities, connectivity or being connected, making sure that people have ways to get to their places of employment, education, and recreation by a variety of different travel modes. And then safety, no matter which mode of transportation a person decides to take, whether it be car, transit, walking, biking, that they're able to do so in a safe manner because things are designed and operate in an appropriate way to enhance and provide for safe travel. And then on the third side, resiliency, talking about it both from an economic standpoint, making sure that the local economy is enhanced and maintained through these improvements. People are able to get to their places of employment, goods are able to travel around and the economy is able to work and function. And then health and wellness, giving ways through the transportation system and transportation network where we're able to support healthy and active lifestyles for residents throughout the region. So at this point, I'm going to pause just really briefly and give an opportunity for there to be questions. If you happen to have a question, feel free to post it in the chat. And, Braden has been monitoring the chat, and we can take about 5 to 10 minutes or so to answer any questions that people might have about the study objectives, the goals of the study, or just any of the overview or background that I provided.
And Bill, we can also use the raised hand feature through Zoom. So it should either, you can probably find it either under the participants tab or in the reactions button on the control panel below on your screen. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any, any questions, or right now you can just, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Me, I don't know how to raise. Oh, here's my hand.
Yeah, we can hear you. Nothing wrong with using the built-in hand you have.
That's right.
Can I ask a question? I know I asked this of you already, Braden, but I don't understand Fresno's interest in this. It isn't purely to get people to 99 when they have access to 99 off of Herndon. I'm beginning to think that other plans are being made in the background that have to do with businesses being built and the impact that will have on the Madera Ranchos businesses. That's number one question. Number two, I know we discussed the funding of this at the first meeting, but I don't really either recall or understand. Is it by bond? Is it going to be a grant? Are the taxpayers paying for it? I don't know exactly how that's set up.
Yeah, I can probably help with both of those, and Bill, feel free to jump in. So I'll take the second question first. This study, the study effort is funded by Caltrans Sustainable Communities, or SB1 grant. So I guess it is technically taxpayer money because it does come from the gas tax that was enacted a few years ago. This study is funded by that, and we will be making project recommendations which currently do not have a funding source. But the team will also be looking at the various funding mechanisms out there, whether that's the individual county self-help measures. So for Fresno, that's Measure C, or whether or not there's federal grants to be applied for federal money for projects. They'll be looking at different ways for the funding sources as we move forward and as we recommend the projects. In terms of Fresno benefit, I know I had some correspondence with you on the side for trying to understand why Fresno is doing this. It boils down to the fact that we know that Fresno County is the people from Fresno County, whether they're working in Fresno County or living in Fresno County, are probably going to have a huge impact with the new developments coming up in Madera County. We already see people moving from Fresno to Madera County, whether it's in the new Riverstone development to Cerro Viejo, and they're a lot of times coming down to Fresno, to downtown Fresno, or to Clovis for shopping, for commuting to jobs and whatnot. So we understand that Fresno is not isolated in Fresno. We interact with Madera for ourselves, and same thing, Madera interacts with Fresno. We also recognize too that in terms of Avenue 9, a lot of people from North Fresno and Clovis use Avenue 9 as the cut through to State Route 99 to get either to Madera or going further north. So we recognize that there are pressures coming onto the Madera County roadway system that maybe aren't coming from within Madera County itself. So this study is kind of being done to see how can we recommend and how can we work together as two counties to help what really is becoming sort of regional issue, not a specific county issue, but a joint regional issue.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure I'll have more questions as we go along, but I thank you for that. Thanks.
No worries. I see we do have some questions in the chat. Anthony Molina did ask what are the funding sources for the study. The study itself, like I said, is funded by SB1. I don't believe it's grant dollars. It's actually just formula dollars, so money that's given directly to Fresno COG and Madera CTC as part of our normal sort of, allowance for the program. Bar mentioned, you mentioned bicycle traffic. Where exactly is this being looked at, and are bikes allowed on freeways now? Bill, do you want to talk specifically about where we're looking at, bikes specifically? I know we're looking at, pretty much both two corridors are being looked at in terms of all modes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's basically along both corridors, and it was really a lot of that thought behind the kind of that buffer around each corridor, where we go out about a mile or so on either side of each corridor, is it gives us that flexibility to look at the other modes like bicycling, where they're, you can't necessarily add a bike lane, within the freeway right of way on the 41, for example, but maybe there's a parallel route that's really close to the 41 that we could look at that could have an enhanced bicycle facility, or maybe there's an off-street opportunity and corridor that we could use that's parallel to the 41 as well. So we are, looking basically throughout the study area for opportunities to create or enhance bicycle infrastructure, looking at what City of Fresno has done and is planning, and if there might be opportunities to kind of build on that to further enhance opportunities for bicycle and bicycle travel.
Yeah, let me go ahead and jump in here if I may.
Sure.
And I don't see where the study can logically implant bicycles. If you're talking about a freeway or enhancing Avenue 9, who are they going to go see? They're not going to go see each other. That's all agricultural. And we're not talking Avenue 12, where there's a business population surrounded by residential population. I don't see where bicycles are going to, that type of information is going to benefit Madera County. I see it really strongly in Fresno, but I don't see how you're going to be able to do it in Madera. Maybe you can just elucidate just a little bit on that.
Yeah, well, I think it's, that's part of why we're doing this study, is to look at, what are the opportunities and what are the needs for different modes of transportation in both corridors. And so we're not quite to the point yet of having the particular ideas, and it's, comments, kind of the benefit of the workshop this evening is to hear your comment and comments of others. Maybe certain corridors there isn't really a need for certain modes of transportation, or there aren't opportunities. That's what we want to do, is kind of look at things and see, what fits best where, what are the different travel needs, and what's the opportunity that's present there, both with the existing land uses as well as the future land uses as well. So it's not to say that we're going to have every mode of transportation or every type of improvement kind of in every location. It's looking at the corridors holistically, and then identifying the specific locations and the specific opportunities for different modes and different types of improvements.
Nick Palladino, I can't figure out a way of raising my hand, so I just speak up. I'm with the Fresno Cycling Club. Obviously, I'm a bicycle advocate. First of all, to address the gentleman's question about bicycles' usage of Avenue 9, also of Highway 41, what's your planning horizon? Before I make my comment, what's your planning horizon on your study?
So we're looking at both the near term, so what could be in the next 5 to 10 years or so, and the longer term horizon, where it's 15 years plus, so kind of out to about 2040, 2045.
2040, 45.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So first of all, I'm assuming then to limit myself initially to Avenue 9, you're going to have shoulders on that road. Probably I would advocate 6 to 8 foot shoulders. So bicycles are allowed use on shoulders. Over your long term, 2040, 45, I anticipate development is going to occur out there over that 30-year time period. I'm certainly going to be development out there. Some of the agricultural land is going to probably be developed to some extent. You're not going to have development along the entire corridor. You're probably going to have some development out there. So I'm going to advocate of complete streets. Every road should be made safe for bicycles. And if you do some reconstruction out there, or do a capacity enhancement project, I think you're probably going to have to do some capacity enhancement on Avenue 9, given your ADT projections. You're probably going to have to put shoulders on. I can't imagine you doing capacity enhancement without shoulders. So I would certainly advocate 6 to 8 foot shoulders, which would be signed as bike lanes. Regarding 41, I believe Caltrans already has a project underway to expand 41 to be an expressway north of Avenue 15, almost out to Highway 145 as an expressway. And I think once again that's going to have probably their standard is going to be, Caltrans standard is 10-foot shoulders, and bikes are allowed on expressways. They may not be allowed on freeways, but they're allowed on expressways by law. They're allowed on expressways unless the local jurisdiction passes an ordinance prohibiting them. And with the Paseo Viejo coming in, you are probably going to see more bicycles. And a group I used to bicycle with before I had health problems did occasionally bicycle on 41 out to the Paseo Viejo. So I think looking at the long term, you're going to see more bicycle usage out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I see long term, you are going to have bicycles, and I think you should plan to accommodate them, and not necessarily shunt them off to some side road. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I know, Nick, you're always involved in everything going on in the COG world, so I appreciate your input. And I also see Tony Molina's comments in the chat saying that bikes are currently permitted by Caltrans on 41 to Frine and Children's Boulevard. I also see, going quickly through the questions, that we do have a few about how the final study results are going to be implemented. Specifically in Madera County, I do see Dylan Stone from MCTC has his hand raised. He is the co-project manager of myself. He's with the Madera CTC. So I'll let him quickly chime in there for how these projects could be implemented. And then so Dylan, please go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Braden. Hey, I just wanted to comment on some of the questions, the comments related to the biking. I think there's a lot of correct statements being made by all parties, really. There is an allowance of bike usage on many of the facilities within our study area. That gets limited as we get to a freeway facility with 41, but in the short-term future on 41, and currently there is a permitted use. And as we get into the longer term, looking at that, the way the area is supposed to develop, what we want to achieve in the study area is a connectivity of bike and ped usage between those new communities, not just to say it's just a side road, but really these are communities connected, and we want them to have a good, healthy connection to our neighbors on the other side of the river. And then as we get to Avenue 9, just to touch on that briefly, it's really, there's two kind of key areas of that segment. The closer you get to 99, the less homes there are. You could count the driveways on a single hand. But as you get closer to the hospital, as you get closer to Rolling Hills, as you get closer to State Route 41, there's a lot of opportunity to really improve the way people can get around by bike or by foot as those areas continue to develop.
Thanks, Dylan. I know you're the expert for Madera, and I don't want to speak for the Madera side. So thank you for chiming in. Quickly, because I do know Bill wants to finish the presentation. We do have an activity as well. Caltrans will be playing a big role. They are on the project team. They're going to be playing a big role in implementing the any project recommendations or strategies along State Route 41. They do have jurisdiction over the highway, so they are the implementing agency. And that also goes back to how the final study results affect the plan developments within the study areas, and specifically the undeveloped areas of Madera County. That also goes back to what Bill was mentioning at the beginning of the open house, where we are just going to be making these recommendations to the individual agencies, whether that's City of Fresno, County of Fresno, City of Madera, County of Madera, and whatnot, and it will be up to them to implement them as they plan and develop these areas. So we're basically coming in, taking the lead in helping them plan, and then delivering them kind of hopefully a finished plan with some potential funding sources for how they can implement these projects. So I don't think, Tony, I see you, you had some quick, recommendations in the comments. We'll make sure we note those. And at this point, I want to turn it back to Bill so we can finish the presentation, and we'll still have time at the end for comments and feedback and good discussion. And we can go longer than 7 p.m. if we need to, but I want to make sure to finish the activity before that. So people can, if they don't want to stay, they can jump off.
Great, thanks, Brady. Yeah, so I just have 2 more slides to walk through, and then we'll move into our interactive activity for the evening. One of the opportunities we have for you all to participate and provide some input. So as we talked about earlier, the real kind of interest of our workshop here this evening and where we're at in the study process is the identification of different transportation strategies and starting to think about different types of projects and recommendations that we could have for improvements in the 2 corridors, in and around the 2 corridors in the future. And as we've started to think about that and think about different strategies, we've categorized those into 5 different areas. So one is highway, so improvements that would be located primarily along State Route 41 in the freeway and expressway portions, and that are really dedicated to those portions and those operations. Roadway improvements, which could include Avenue 9, as well as corridors that are parallel or perpendicular to the 2 study corridors. So some of the side streets and local streets within Fresno and Madera County. Transit improvements to the existing FACS bus system or bus services within Madera County, those connecting to Yosemite as well. Active transportation, so improvements for walking and bicycling. And then multimodal and climate resilience, kind of related improvements. So in this area, we're thinking about improvements that might encourage carpooling and van pooling, implementation of more park and rides, ways for people to avoid kind of driving alone within their car, other ways to be able to get around or have access to transportation in the future, and in ways that don't have quite the same level of impact on air quality in the environment. So this next slide highlights, goes back to a little bit some of the questions that came up just a few minutes ago. We are looking to categorize projects into 3 different time horizons. Near term, which would be between now and the next 5 years, so about the mid-2020s. The midterm, which would be between 5 and 15 years. And then the longer term, which is 15 years and plus. And a lot with these different categories, this will be a kind of a next step as we identify different projects and different recommendations, looking at a lot of different components like the complexity of implementing a project, the cost of implementing a project. All those different factors kind of play together in terms of the timing and when you might implement or when a particular agency might implement a project. So we'll be looking at and identifying the need for project, and then the different coordination and funding that's needed for it as well, and then identifying a likely timing for when a project could potentially be implemented. Some of the key inputs to the development of these recommendations and the different strategies: the existing conditions analysis that we did through the second half of 2020, the community input, the input that we're getting from you all this evening as well in the next few weeks through the Info Center. And then also, as I alluded to in the schedule, the parallel efforts to develop that travel model and those future traffic and demand forecasts. We'll be using that information as well to help identify where the needs are, where demand is, and then what types of projects might help to address that demand for travel.
This is the first time they reported back.
So now we're going to move into the activity. And this is our opportunity where we really want to hear from you. There's going to be an opportunity for you to participate in this activity. We have a couple different ways for you to do it, depending on kind of your comfort level with Zoom and with the link that we'll share. But at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Oliver from IBI, who's going to walk through that activity.
Thank you, Bill. And even though my name says Angela Jarvis, I'm actually Oliver. There's the actual Angela Jarvis on the other screen, so you can look and try to find her. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate what we're going to be doing. I'm going to illustrate the instructions on the screen of how to access the tool that we're going to be using, which is a digital canvas. If you feel not comfortable, it's fine. You can either stay on the Zoom call and just watch on your screen how everybody else is participating on the screen, or you can type in your answers through the chat window, and I'll explain this later. So first of all, let me share my screen, and hopefully this works out well. And I am going to go to the Zoom call, and of course the Zoom call doesn't work anymore. But what you're going to have is on the chat window a link. Please don't push it yet. Let me just demonstrate it for you. You're going to click on this link, and a page will open like the ones that like the one that you're going to be seeing like in a second once it charges. And once it opens up, and let me see if for some reason something didn't work out. Angela, can you share your screen and try to do that yourself? For some reason, my web browser is irresponsive so that we can get to this screen. Can you try to do that yourself?
Yeah, just give me 1 second, Braden. We may need to triage to have me grant permissions. Just give me 1 second.
Yep. Here, I can share my screen, Oliver, so people can see when they click on the link what it has, because I clicked on it. It'll bring up a box that'll show up here that says mural, and it says welcome to the Mural Fresno workshop. And then it'll assign you an animal that you get to be, and then you can enter as a visitor. You just click that button there once you click the link.
If you want, you can put in your name too, but that's not needed. So you can be incognito, completely unseen by everybody else. Just your avatar as an animal. So you click on enter as a visitor, as Bill is gonna share right now, and what you're gonna see is a canvas like he's showing. There is a zoom button at the right side. At the top there is this bar where you can zoom in and zoom out, and if you could zoom out, Bill, you can see that the canvas has different numbers, right? It goes from number 1, and with your mouse you can go up and down, and you can see there's 5 topics that we're going to be seeing, and they correspond to the 5 topics that Bill just explained before. And on each of the rectangles to the right of it, you will see with letters A, B, C, different ideas of what we're thinking in that category of what we could be implementing in different locations. Now, these items are not necessarily implementable everywhere, and everywhere along State Road 41 or Avenue 9, there may be specific locations. We're not talking about the location, but about the idea in itself, where it's appropriate, and the study will identify where it's appropriate. So if you could zoom in now so that we can see the row of the 0-1, which is the first group, and you could move a little bit to the right, Bill, so that we can see the full list, or zoom a little bit out, whatever works best so that we can see them. So what we want you to do here is to figure out, or rather to express through different dots whether things, rather than like and dislike how it says there, which things do you think are most appropriate? And Bill will show us with his mouse. The green dots go if you like an item. So for example, if you think that a managed lane high occupancy vehicle carpool lane is appropriate as an idea, then you would place it on the green area. Or if you think that's not a good idea, then I would want you to move a red dot, and you would pick the red dot and the green dots with your mouse. So we're going to start with this. As I mentioned before, if you feel uncomfortable of signing in and clicking on the link, etc., it's fine. You can continue here on this screen that Bill will continue to show. Since for some reason my browser stopped working and I don't want to fix it right now in real time. We're gonna be doing this first, the number 1, and then we're moving through all the categories. If you feel uncomfortable, you can type in 1A green, for example, or 1B red, etc. on the chat window, and we can place the dot for you. So whatever works for you, it's fine, or you could do it verbally too. If that's simpler. What we want is the most from the participants. Braden, we have, how many participants do we have? Like 30 or 40, I believe. As many of your opinions as possible. So if someone has any troubles in terms of signing up or signing into this this application, please also let us know via the chat window, and the real Angela will try to direct and help you out. So if you could just click on the link that is in the chat window, like Bill identified, and if you could just log in. I see already a visiting raccoon and a visiting sea lion. That is actually Brenda. If you could sign in, and let's start with the number 1 here with the first row. Of highway improvements, and begin moving the dots where you think this is a good idea or a bad idea in number 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1F. While we are doing this, please begin moving the dots as you feel is appropriate. Bill, can you go and explain the different categories as people are already?
Hey, before we get there, how do we get out of this screen and select what critter we're going to be?
You have to go to the chat window. Can you showcase that again, Bill?
Yep.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
When you go to the chat window, you have a link there that you have to click.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that I can show the Zoom screen when I'm screen.
Yeah, that's the
yeah, and if you're in Zoom, at the bottom there should be a little bar that comes up if you put your mouse towards the bottom of the screen in Zoom, and then there should be one button that says chat, and if you click on that, it'll bring up a different bar that will include the chat from everyone who's in the meeting. And within there, Angela has posted the link, and all you have to do is click on that link, and then it will open up your browser, whether it be, Chrome or Internet Explorer or what have you. And it'll load the page, and then you'll have the opportunity to click and select your animal, and then you'll be able to go in.
And just so everyone's clear too, if you don't feel comfortable with using, clicking the link and using the activity, you're more than welcome to just kind of stick around and watch us, or also participate just through the chat, or we'll have a chance to let you just kind of say, hey, put a green dot for me in A under number 1.
Exactly.
We also had a comment that if you're on an iPad, it may be a bit hard because the iPad, it's really hard to kind of go back and forth. So I'd recommend not clicking the link and just staying and watching us and participating via the chat and verbally. And I also saw another comment come in that, thank you, Angela, that or Oliver, that all the links are the same. We just keep resending them in case one of the links doesn't work.
Okay, and I am seeing already a lot of activity. That's exactly what we want. There appears to be some that are really liked. There is one that is slightly disliked, I would say. Can you go through the categories, Bill, so that we explain what they are?
Yeah, so people know what they are. So the first one, A, under number 1, is an auxiliary lane, and this is a lane that's added to the freeway basically between 2 interchanges. So it helps with people getting on and off the freeway. So when you get on the freeway from an on-ramp, you're not merging directly into the first through travel lane. When you get onto the freeway, you'd actually have a lane that the ramp would transition into that would be a new lane. And then you have basically that lane existing all the way up until the next interchange, the next off-ramp. So you have more time to merge over into the regular travel lanes, and people who are getting off the freeway at the next interchange also have more time to be able to move over. So it really helps with kind of the flow of traffic without major widening or changes to the freeway footprint overall. Under B, as in boy, we're talking about carpool lanes or high occupancy vehicle lanes. So these are the 2+ lanes that are typically located in the middle of the freeway, where you have to have more than one person riding with you in the car to be able to use that lane. Electric vehicles, or certain electric vehicles or low emission vehicles, are also able to use these lanes with the little stickers that are issued by the DMV as well. Interchange improvements, this would be improvements to on and off ramps or interchanges. And that could include freeway to street interchanges as well as freeway to freeway interchanges, making those operate and function better. D as in dog is traveler information, freeway operations improvements. So this could be things like the overhead message signs that you may see that Caltrans puts up and gives you different information. You know, sometimes it says, you know, be sure to buckle your seatbelt or you know, kind of general messages like that. But they also can be used to give real-time information, such as, you know, there's an accident that occurred at, you know, a different street, and you need, you know, to take an alternative route because there's lanes blocked on the freeway. And so it gives you advanced information so that you're not stuck in traffic because of an incident or something that maybe happened. And then, oh, we skipped a letter. We've gone from D to F, but F is general purpose lane addition. So this is a new travel lane that would extend for multiple miles, multiple interchanges along the freeway and enhance the capacity.
Thank you, Bill. And everybody has been really busy. And what I can see already here, and please, Dylan and Braden and Bill, jump in. What we're already seeing in the number 1 that Bill has on the screen, everybody's already busy, already moving to number 2. So I'm going to go fast because you got it faster than I thought, than we were talking actually. So what we are seeing is that that there's a lot of interest in high occupancy lanes, on interchange improvements, traveler information, and auxiliary lane additions. The one that has the most red dots is general purpose lane additions, which is interesting. It means like, hey, we have to be purposeful in terms of adding new lanes or adding new capacity to a highway. That's what I see. Bill or Dylan or Braden, any other comments, or should we move to number 2?
I think that's pretty good. I'd be okay.
I think people are going to town on
yeah, we're seeing a lot of activity on number 2. So I'm gonna scroll down and just give a quick overview on 2. And maybe I'll walk through 2 and 3 since they're both on the screen here. So for roadway improvements, we have 3 categories. Intersection improvements, which could include upgrades to traffic signals, making them work better and more efficiently. New turning lanes to add capacity at intersections. B is coordination of traffic signals, making traffic progress along a street better. So when you're traveling along at the speed limit, you see more green lights than red, and you're able to move with fewer stops. And then roadway expansion, widening roadways, enhancing capacity. That's pretty straightforward. And then under number 3 below, different types of transit improvements, adding local bus routes is A. B is traffic signal priority. This could be a measure where if a bus is approaching a traffic signal and it was going to turn yellow and red, there's a sensor on the bus that can talk to the traffic signal and say, the bus can say, hey, I'm coming soon, I'm almost there. Please stay green for 5 more seconds so I can make it through the intersection. And that really helps with travel time and reliability for bus services. Queue jump lanes are lanes that are put in at intersections, kind of like a right turn pocket, where a bus is able to enter into that lane past the queue of cars that are stopped at a red light. But instead of having to turn right when the light turns green, they're able to go straight, and they might even get a green 2 to 3 seconds ahead of regular traffic so that they can go forward and move and not be stuck behind cars. They can go up and serve their stop at the far side of the intersection. D would be new freeway express bus routes. So looking at opportunities in particular for State Route 41 to have bus routes that operate along the freeway and serve longer distance trips. And then F would be new bus rapid transit. Bus rapid transit is kind of an enhanced bus service that brings in different ideas from categories B and C, but improves services. So Route 1 that FACTS operates right now has many attributes of a bus rapid transit service. So it could be looking at kind of multiplying or expanding those types of improvements to other routes that operate within Fresno or Madera County.
So Bill, if you allow me again to be the interpreter of number 2, roadway improvements, it's a very similar to what we had in highway improvements, where roadway expansion per se, although it has some green dots, it has the most quantity of red dots. There's more emphasis on intersection improvement and traffic signal coordination in particular, right? As tactics or as actions to improve the roadway itself, which are the non-freeway streets or roads. Moving to transit improvements, number 3, there is not that many dislikes in terms of activities. Probably the ones with the highest number of green dots is traffic signal priority for buses, or a new local bus route, or a new bus rapid transit route. So it's fairly balanced in terms of positive for transit improvements. So I would say everything is interesting for the participants that have been participating. Should we move to number 4? Because everybody already
yeah, there's a lot already
number 5. So you're much faster than Bill can talk, so that's good.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly go through 4 and 5 so everybody's got the hang of things and it's really good. 4 is really looking at bicycle and pedestrian improvements. So 4A, new bicycle lanes and facilities. B is focusing specifically on protected bicycle lanes, so enhancing those so that if there is a bicycle lane in the street, there's some form of separation between bikes and cars. Bicycle-friendly intersections, which are enhancements at signalized intersections to make travel safer for bicycles. And then on the pedestrian side, looking for opportunities for new and improved sidewalks, which could include widened sidewalks, repaired sidewalks, and landscaping and shade as well to make that walk more pleasant. And then down at the bottom on the multimodal climate resiliency side, we have some different ideas. Mobility hubs, which are kind of smaller transit centers where different modes of transportation come together and you can be connected and move between different modes of transportation very easily. Enhancing landscape and shade, which has benefits not only for travel, but also for the environment. Park and ride facilities, again, that opportunity to transition between different modes of transportation. Expanding van pool and carpool opportunities, and then expanding infrastructure for electric vehicles as well.
So in terms of interpretation of number 4 and number 5, it's also mirroring what we saw with transit, that there's not that many. I see only 1 red dot in terms of dislike of not appropriate, and a fairly even distribution among all the categories. There's none that I would say has much less green dots than the others, like we saw in transit a little bit. So basically every idea, what I'm reading in between the lines here is every idea is a good idea. Obviously it needs to be appropriate to the location and to the needs, right? And this is what our team will be analyzing. I don't know, Braden and Dylan and Bill, do you have any other comments beyond my really brief interpretation at a high level of what we're seeing here?
I just have a quick comment, Oliver, that if I know some of us are having trouble with the website, and I apologize for that. And I also know that it's really hard to do it on an iPad, like I mentioned. If you do just want to give me verbal feedback, feel free to email me, and I can have a call with you to go through this website itself, or just have for you to give me, just verbal feedback on anything. We definitely value your opinion and want to get as much feedback as possible. So please feel free to reach out to me. And I understand if you're frustrated with the website, but we do want your opinion either way. So shoot me an email if you need to.
Yes, this is very important, Braden. There's a few people that have had some difficulty either signing in, or because of the device didn't recognize it, or whatever other reason. That doesn't mean that your opinion is not important, just the opposite. So either email Braden, or that he has put his email again on the chat, and we can give you a PDF version of this canvas with the green dots as they have been recorded, and you can email Braden and tell us where you want your green or red dots located, and we can add them to the list, definitely like that. Or you could have also typed them as we moved along, but it was fairly fast. We recognize that. Alternatively, there's going to be the info center, which is a normal website, which has a survey very similar with similar categories to this. This is another opportunity to capture that information, and that will be open for people not only participating in this workshop, but to anybody during the next couple of weeks. Definitely, it's really interesting to see in really quick order. In 5-10 minutes, we finished up. I don't know, 20 categories, 20 different options, and we can see that some of them are ideas that are really relevant for everybody. There's some others that are not such a good idea, and if I may summarize the ones that are not such a good idea, is just adding more lanes without any specific purpose. That's kind of perceived in general by everybody as not the best use of, not necessarily of money, but at least of effort and in terms of actions moving forward. Said in another way, we want to move in an intelligent way. I would interpret in between the lines. So Bill, I think that with this, we finished the exercise. I don't know if you could zoom out. Sorry for me not being able to do that myself, and so that we can all see the full canvas of what we produced in short order, and in terms of what you think. And this is an important input, as Bill explained afterwards, together with 2 other types of input that will help us define and zero in on the right choices. Now, of course, we will layer in a location lens to this, because not every one of these cells or these options or these ideas are equally valuable or equally viable or desirable or feasible, which are 3 different things in any location. So it has to have a location filter. With that, Bill and Braden, I don't know if we want to post on the chat again the info center link for people to go and explore more content and more information than what we have provided here. But other than that, with this, we would finish this exercise.
Great, thanks, Oliver. Yeah, I think we should post the link there to the chat, and I think that takes us through the exercise. And so, Braden, I think we could probably open it up if there's any additional questions or comments that participants may have. But we've gone through the content for this evening, and I think stayed pretty close to being on time. And so we've gone through our content for tonight. As Oliver mentioned, there is the info center, which has a survey that asks very similar questions to what we have here, along with a few other components to it. That's great for you to check out. You can also share that link with your friends and neighbors and acquaintances. They're welcome to go and provide input. And then we'll also, if you'd like to request, you can send a request to Braden, and we can provide this canvas here with the dots as a PDF, and you can provide your input that way as well. We're open to any different way. We're all kind of figuring out the new normal of things, of how we get input from everyone. So we're open to making it as flexible for you to be able to provide your input as possible as we work through this.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I also just want to open it up to any, just like we were having before, discussion of any lingering questions or concerns about either the exercise or the study or what we presented tonight. I'm happy to stay on for as long as I need to answer any lingering questions. I think I also want to say that I maybe missed a few questions in the chat. Let me go back up and see. Or if anyone wants to raise their hand, or just feel free to unmute yourself and let me know, let us know. If there's no lingering questions, please feel free to, we're past 7 o'clock. So if you want to jump off, we're more than happy to, or if there's any questions, just feel free to just say it out loud. I see one new message coming in. We learned about this meeting via club. How is this meeting advertised? That's a great question. So both Fresno COG and Madera CTC, we advertise it through social media. I saw it posted by Caltrans District 6, which is the district that both Madera and Fresno counties are located in. We had a few different groups send it out. We sent it out to the Fresno Cycling Club. We posted on their Facebook. I know on my end, at least the Fresno and the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee to the City of Fresno. We sent it out to our small groups who we did engage with back in December. I also sent it out to a few different lists that we maintain on the Fresno COG site, so our general email list. I also sent it out to our Fresno AB 617 community, which is the South Central Fresno community, who are looking at air quality, community air emissions down there. If you're aware or involved in that process, you know what I'm talking about. But it's primarily, a lot of it's online just because of COVID. We would have loved to have this, in person to do an exercise and really, interact with everyone. But obviously we want to be respectful of all the guidelines, and of course, health and safety comes first. So this is our new normal for the last year almost.
Hi, and this is Dylan again. And we don't have as many clubs or as long of a list as Braden in our county, but a lot of the same things we applied to try to get the word out through our social media, for all the people that sign up on our website to get news about events and agendas, just emailing it out to everyone we know locally that would want to participate in this. So also, I just wanted to say, for anyone that is going to be logging off soon, thank you for taking time out of your evening to participate with us. And again, I'm also hang around to take any questions that might come up that I could help answer.
I neglected to mention that we also sent it out to we have a project steering committee, which also includes, representatives from Tesoro Viejo, the Riverstone communities, and they did get the message to, share out to the residents of those communities. I'm not sure if the message got out, but we did ask them to share it. So those people did get that. Was there any other lingering questions? Like I said, feel free to shoot me or Dylan an email. We're always happy to take questions. We're here for you. We're here to answer questions and let you know what's going on with the study. If not, well, I will hang around for a few more minutes. Feel free to jump off if you need to. But I'll stick around and answer any lingering questions.